So you saw my previous clip. I'm working on a 3D printed mouse droid RC car. Here's the video showing you the process I went through to get this completed. Hope you enjoy it. Thanks.
I did want to kind of recap this. This is a 3D print. On the bottom here, I used 1mm styrene sheet to get the angles, so that it would kind of like clip onto the, the car. So I got the car here, and then this kind of, there's an opening here for the whatchamacallit, for the antenna, and then it clips on. What I ended up doing is I have two magnets here, and I glued a magnet to the screw hole that keeps the plastic body on, and then I glued a magnet here, and so when I put this on, it just like clips right in place, and it's perfect. So the next step now is for me to paint it, which I'll do here in a few minutes. So the next thing on this is to paint it after I glue this bit back on because it came off. I may have to reinforce this with some styrene. This came off right here, and it needs to sit on there. So that's going to be a pain in my neck to try to get that back to glue back together because it took a while yesterday.
So right here I'm sanding with some 220 grit sandpaper so that I can get some of the primer stringiness and that kind of thing off of the print. Just to give it a final kind of a over polish of before I start the printing process. But here I'm putting on the little styrene side panel that I had cut previously, which I didn't really record that. That's, it's pretty straightforward. You just kind of cut it to fit. And I used some paper to kind of get the outlines and everything and see how it would all fit before I started cutting styrene, and it seemed to work well. Obviously needed to reinforce the back of this piece because it broke off, but it should hold pretty well now. So I'm just kind of setting this to the side here so that I can let it dry in position so that it gets the right angle, and then I kind of move over to cutting the little bits of styrene reinforcement. So I did probably about like a millimeter, and I had trouble cutting it with the blade, so I ended up using scissors, and it pried it apart enough for me to get it apart.
So on this little racer, you can see I had some really nice little sockets here for the backlights, and then there were some front lights that were on it, so I just took those off and it works perfectly.
So now I've just taken the styrene piece and I'm gluing it back in place so that it will hold the side panel in, and you can see there I've got it next propping up the side panel glued to the underside of the unit. So I'm just pressing the little strips that I've cut into place so that I can move on to painting the rest of the unit.
So you can see where you can see this, how well you can see this. You can see the layer lines in these panels here, and then this big one in the back. So the real test is to see what happens with these layer lines when I get rid of it. And I'll probably paint this black and then maybe do some basic kind of weathering highlights. Nothing too major. And funnily enough, this is about 1/12 scale, so it's the same size as the Stormtrooper over there. So I could use it in this most likely diorama. Okay, there's the super glue. Probably should have test fit this, but give it a little bit of press in. May need some more super glue actually. Yeah, I think I'll need a little bit more glue there. There we go. Big glob of it. There we go. Yeah, of course it's now sticking out the back, so I can kind of mesh, straighten it up here, hold on to it. Kind of brush the glue back onto the surface. There's no high spots with it. Okay, that's that one. And then we'll do this one. I don't know what way around these are supposed to be on, but you know, I'm not building like a life-size mouse droid yet. But we shall see. Okay. That's pressed in place good. Let's get rid of. Need to put this down. Again. Okay. Work that back in. I'm sure there's a better way to wipe up these excess super glue, so if somebody knows, give me some ideas. I'd appreciate it. Alright, so that's gluing. You can kind of see some of the reflection of the glue. Oh, that's even a better angle. So I'm just going to let all this dry. You know, kind of let it all dry, and then, of course I got super glue on my finger now. And then I'll come back and paint this.
I start by painting the wheels on the remote control car so that this look pretty nice and match the rest of the mouse droid, because the mouse droid's black and all the wheels are darker color, and the silver stood out really just too much. So that was a little too thin, so I had to kind of wipe it away. But I ended up thinning it with water, and then just kind of painted the rest of the mouse droid.
All right, there we go. It's starting to look like something now.
Just finishing painting the rest of the mouse droid. Kind of try to give it a good coat. The first layer a little thinned down, so there's not many brush lines that you can see. Here you can see that you kind of see some layer lines in that, but really the final finish is really just really good, so it doesn't really bother me that much. Just point out some of the gaps where the some primer is still showing through, and then making sure that it gets a nice even coat for the first layer. End up going back because I did miss a little bit of a spot at the top where the antennas are, but nothing major. Kind of get the idea that it's just a standard painting process. Just thin your paints and it'll look really good when it's done. So the next step is the weathering. I kind of check out the RC car wheels. It looks perfect, and then just kind of start with the edge highlights on the droid. The silver I used was a little too thin, but it worked out well in the end.
Okay. That's good. I'm gonna call that good. It looks sufficiently distressed. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. I did end up doing a second coat and a second sand on the primer surface. And so, I mean, you can still see some of the layer lines, but barely. It's like not even worth, like you wouldn't even know.
It's almost forgot video of this, the final product. It works really well and rolls really nicely on my floor here to play around with. I'm really happy with this, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.